Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I'm your host, Stephen Billings, and with me, as always, is our lovely, super masculine co-host. He's always pumping iron. I always see him every time I see him. He's like, he's working out. No, I'm just kidding.
I wish.
Yeah, I know.
Don't have the energy for it anymore.
Yeah,
too many movies to watch.
No, we were just talking off mic about I'm wearing like a sleeveless shirt right now.
I knew he was going to bring it up.
Yeah, and I was like, this is just me wearing the clothes I'm going to wear when I fall into bed after this episode. So that's why I'm looking so buffy. I'm not
the
buff.
Vampire Slayer.
I am a vampire slayer though. But everybody, thank you for joining us again for another episode. This is Spy number 79. So we got one more episode to end the year after this one, which will be 80 with the guys from Indicator. John and Sam. So we'll end on this is a shout out to Ryan. Nice round number for Ryan. Number 80 episodes for to end the year. So
yeah, that's a nice round number. It's always good to end it on a good note. But yeah, it's getting very, very close to the end of the year. And are you feeling the holiday anxiety? Because I kind of got a little bit of that this weekend. I don't know why.
Well, I'll tell you what eased it. So like buying gifts for people, like we've kind of like finished that up. I kind of like put in my last little order.
Yeah, I haven't started yet.
So that Jesus Christ, dude, you better get on that. That's why you got anxiety. You haven't even started gift shopping and you're a week into December.
Yeah, time is funny to me. Like time is just like, it doesn't feel normal anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like it's not even the 2-week mark into December. And it's like that anxiety of like holidays are right around the corner. Like people are already having their work Christmas functions or holiday functions and people are buying gifts and getting everything situated. And I'm like, it's not for another 2 weeks. What's going on?
Come on, Andrew. You got to get ahead, man. You got to get ahead so you don't have the anxiety. But yeah, I get that. I get a little bit of that. Like, we got people to buy, we got a baby and stuff. And it's you got to buy more thing. Even though she's not going to remember it, you got to buy her stuff. But what eased that a little bit was that I got my Vinegar Syndrome sale stuff in.
I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate you so much.
And the other stuff is on the way too. I got some imprint stuff coming, and I got some my Severance stuff coming as well. Should hopefully both be here maybe this week.
Nice.
So I'll feel good. It'll lessen the stress. But of course, to allude to that sale Vinegar Syndrome stuff, I did put a video out on our YouTube channel that you can go check out. I go through everything that I do an unboxing. I go through everything I got in my box. It's about 15 minutes long, so not a lot of time. So yeah, go check that out on the YouTube channel along with we've had like 3 new videos in the last week. So
I know.
You got Andrew visiting Barnes and Noble for the Criterion sale that ended last month. And then you also have another video of me reviewing 3 titles from Imprint that came out in October. So go check out that the YouTube channel, Chasing Labels, and subscribe. Check out the videos, like them, share them around for us, please. And with that said, we got of course Blu-ray announcements to talk about. But at the end of the show, we know this is a bit, and we talked about it a little bit on the last episode with Dan Kinham, the Sight and Sound poll. It's a big thing right now. People are talking about it a lot. And so we decided at last minute, I messaged Andrew, hey, let's do this. I've already posted in our Facebook group. I've posted online a little bit, my top 10 that I would do if I was cool enough to be part of the Sight and Sound poll. So we're going to do that tonight. Me and Andrew are going to talk about a top 10. If we were going to pick the greatest movies of all time, what ours would be. Like I said, I already posted mine online, but I might flop out a couple just to surprise you. I'm interested to see what Andrew's got. He said his was boring. So yeah, are you excited about that?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to do it, but it was kind of easy for me just because it's like, hey, what are 10 of the greatest movies all time that you think are? And that's kind of what I went with. So it is kind of a traditional boring list for a lot of you, cinephiles at home. You'll probably be like, yeah, those all make sense. I tried to add a few little wild cards there at the end, but they're not really wild cards if you think about it. But we'll get to that later in the episode. But I do want to say how internally jealous I am of Steven for getting his Vinegar Syndrome package already from the sale, because mine has not even been processed yet. It still says unfulfilled on their website. And I was just like, damn. And it's like, and Steven and I were both there at midnight ordering stuff. So I don't know, maybe luck of the draw. Who knows?
Maybe because I ordered so much that they were like, let's get him out first. I don't know.
Maybe. Do they go by? I don't know. We should ask somebody from there.
You
Like,
should ask.
Does it go by quantity? Or
I don't know. It's
or
just probably
name?
luck, man.
Yeah,
It's just luck.
I'll just keep on waiting until
What
it
just
happens.
sucks about you isn't where are they? They're ain't they? Are they shipping from? Where they're shipping from right near
I
close
think
to you,
they're
ain't
shipping
they?
from Connecticut. Every package I've gotten from them is from, I think, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Don't quote me on that.
So
But
you're
that's
a
where
lot
they're
closer
headquartered.
than
I'm
I
a
am.
state away, literally. I've done the map. It's like a 2.5 hour ride, I think, from where I live to the.
Well, why don't you just go pick it up?
Yeah, I know. It's like, God, can I just come get it?
Can you just go through a drive-through and
or
go
meet
pick
me
it up?
meet me halfway or something. I don't know.
I don't know. You might want to look into that. Maybe you could just go by there and get it.
I wish.
You could take a nice drive to go get your vinegar syndrome. I mean, it's just...
and shop around at their archive while I'm there and buy more stuff, I guess.
There you go.
Other than the usual sales that are going on this time of year, we do have some announcements this week. Not a lot. Last week was kind of really the bulk of it was catching up on Kino, and then of course the partner label stuff because it's partner labels month at Vinegar Syndrome. But we do have a couple of things to talk about this week. One slate that came out of nowhere, which was pleasantly surprised. We'll get into that, but I do want to catch up on some stuff I missed out on last week because I forgot to mention it. 2 releases that are coming from Shout Factory is Iron Monkey and Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain. Iron Monkey I've seen, and Iron Monkey I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen. It's a really fun, great, like really solid action film from 1993, starring Donnie Yen is in the film, and it's kind of like a Robin Hood story, but set in like period piece set. I want to say China, yes,
yeah,
and it's really fantastic. I really.
When did this movie come out? What year?
1993.
I was gonna say this is definitely early Donnie Yen, right? This is like,
he's very young. Like this was way before he was in like any of the Ip Man films or anything else. And I remember this movie, playing on cable when I was younger. I remember seeing the DVD all the time in the store when I was used DVD shopping, and it's always been around. But it's getting a Blu-ray release. From Shout Factory. I don't think it's had a Blu-ray release before this. No, yes, it has. I lied. Oh, what a liar I am.
You lie.
I lie. It came out, and I also remember this. It came out from Miramax on Blu-ray in 2009.
Well, that's why it's been gone for so long.
Yeah, this is probably long out of print. So this is getting a brand new release. And then the other film I actually haven't seen, so I can't comment on it. Other than that, this is just more of the trend we've been seeing, Stephen. Just martial arts films being put out by everybody.
Yeah.
88 films, Arrow, Eureka,
Vinegar
Syndrome, Criterion, Shout Factory.
And apparently there's going to be a lot more of that coming from Vinegar Syndrome in the coming year. They've teased that they got some of that stuff we talked about with Andrew Furtado, the category 3 stuff. They said teased that they're going to have some of that stuff. And even some other, martial arts stuff. I think they're looking to get more into that game. And of course, they have put out martial arts films just recently. The Burning Paradise, and even if you count stuff like the film, what's the other film with the female?
I talk about Righting Wrongs.
Well, then Right and Wrongs too, of course. That one is as well.
I think Righting Wrongs, that's an amazing release by them. That's a 3-disc edition with loads and loads of features. But yeah, they've been putting out a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I can't check their website because they don't have any of their releases up there. So it's
all partner label right now.
It's all partner label stuff. So there goes my plan about surprising you with some cool names. But yeah, just a lot of stuff coming from the martial arts area because there's just a wealth of that stuff available.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
But moving on from there, some other stuff here or there. The Wes Craven film Swamp Thing from 1982, a bit of a cult film, I would say. it's been
Yeah, it kind of goes along with some of the other Wes Craven '90s stuff. Like, what's the? I think Shout put out the other one. I'm thinking of Curse,
Are you talking
the one,
about
the
the?
werewolf movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think they
You're
put that
talking
out
about his
too.
non-Scream '90s stuff, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the stuff that didn't really hit as well, other than his New Nightmare and Scream stuff. Like he had a few like weird ones in there that nobody really cared for.
Yeah, I mean, he
Um,
directed Vampire in Brooklyn.
yeah,
Um, Music of the Heart is a completely different film than you've ever seen from Wes Craven.
yeah, I haven't seen that
It's
one.
a drama. It's a serious drama starring Meryl Streep. It based on a true story, I believe. I've seen the movie. It's actually quite good. Yeah, Meryl
Yeah,
Streep,
okay.
Cloris Leachman, Aidan Quinn is in the film. It's Angela Bassett's in the film. A story of a school teacher's struggle to teach violin to inner city Harlem kids, and it's based on a true story. And Meryl Streep is that teacher. Um, it's nominated for 2 Oscars. So there
That's
you go.
crazy. I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
yeah. So, but this is a Wes Craven film that he did way back in 1982, and this is of course based off of the DC Comics or Vertigo character of Swamp Thing. Honestly, one of my
Yeah, yeah,
favorite comic book characters, and this was right at the time where I think Alan Moore was writing Swamp Thing and it was reviving the character, and he was really popular. So they tried to like, I guess, capitalize on that popularity by making a Swamp Thing movie directed by Wes Craven, the same guy who had done The Hills Have Eyes and Deadly
yeah,
Blessing. And then, of course, would go on to do A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 years later and whatnot. But this movie is, of course, it's cheesy, it's dated, it's campy, it's all of those things. The special effects aren't great. I mean, the Swamp Thing, just the makeup and stuff on him looks like he's wearing a rubber suit. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's a completely different time when it comes to comic book movies than now. Like,
yeah.
just lights, you can't compare it. It's a different era. They didn't know that what they were doing. This was, of course, right after they had done Superman and Superman 2, I believe. So it's in the early stages of putting, comic book superheroes on screen in any type of way. I think it was a commercial hit at the time, but it's mostly kind of a cult hit. It did have a sequel, I think, Return of Swamp Thing, not directed by Wes Craven, and it was, I think that one was even more campier and not as dark as this one. And then it had a TV series, and it's a whole big thing. But anywho, that's getting a release not by Shout Factory, who put out the original Blu-ray in 2013, but MVD Visual, I think, is putting it out. So keep an eye out for that. There's no date on it. It's kind of a rumor thing right now. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So moving right along, we got another thing that's coming out in the future is a release by 88 Films called God of Gamblers, starring Chow Yun-fat and Andy Lau. Yeah, and this is one of those where it's like, could be coming anytime. There's no release date, just a rumor. They haven't really announced it. And yeah, I got to watch the movie, Steven, and it's okay, if that makes sense. It starts out really cool and then kind of gets a little light and campy, dumb. Then it kind of picks up at the end. So basically, Chow Yun-fat plays a master gambler. He's the god of gamblers. He plays like, poker and all this kind of stuff, and he goes around and he beats like the best of the best. But apparently one day he gets in an accident and he gets a head injury, and he's kind of reduced down to a childlike state. And the people that take him in after his accident don't realize who he is, and they just try to kind of like take care of him. But apparently, even in his impaired state mentally, he still has a knack for gambling. So they try to use him to make money. And then they also try, but then of course they start, getting endeared to him, and then they want to help him get his memory back and all this kind of stuff. But the bulk of the film is Chow Yun-fat acting like a 6-year-old child in a man's body and whatnot. So it's a lot of physical comedy, a lot of over the top.
What year did this come out?
This came out in 1989, Stephen.
Look, this came out right at the time Rain Man came out. Do you think that the movie
saw that comparison?
I was like, so wait, somebody that's got a mental disability playing card games. They saw Rain Man. They saw it and then they copied it into.
I mean, that is a part of Rain Man where they use his, they use his autism or whatever his character has in Rain Man to make money. That's what Tom Cruise does to exploit him.
He's got disability to count cards.
Yes.
And
yeah, because his mind works differently than others do. And yeah, this movie's kind of similar to that, but just the premise is different. And of course, there's all other kind of like serious stuff going on where, you're dealing with, not the best of people when you're dealing with that world of high stakes gambling and all that kind of stuff. So there's all that kind of things happening. But what is interesting about this movie, this starts off a franchise that is still kind of going on to this day for the most part.
Oh, man.
By what I'm saying is that there was a movie that came out in 2016 that's part of the franchise where Chow Yun-fat reprises his character once again. And it's really kind of fascinating how this franchise works, because there was a movie that came out the year after this that is a parody of God of Gamblers called All for the Winner, starring Stephen Chow. And then they made a God of Gamblers 2 where they crossed over the parody world for All for the Winner and the real world and God of Gamblers. And Andy Lau's character and Stephen Chow's character have to team up in that movie. And so it's just, and then they went on to make subsequent sequel after sequel after sequel and spin-offs and all kind of stuff. And I told you, there's one that came out in 2016 as its most recent version.
It sounds like they just made this shit up as they went.
Oh, it does sound like it. I mean, because Chow Yun-fat's character doesn't come back until, I can't remember which film, but he doesn't come back till like the third or fourth film. It's kind of wild, and some of them have different names. Yeah, he doesn't come back until God of Gamblers returns in 1994, which is the 4th film in the franchise. They bring him back, and then the movie after that is called God of Gamblers 3, but it's the 5th film in the franchise. You see what I'm getting here?
What the hell?
The numbering's all over the place.
This would piss me off.
It's really confusing. That's why I'm on Wikipedia, and they kind of break it down to you, like each movie where its place is in the franchise, because it goes back and forth. And so, but this movie kind of starts that all off. Now, I don't know if they're going to come out with any of the other ones on Blu-ray or if they have already, but I'm just saying that 88 Films is jumping on this God of Gamblers train already.
If they ever did a box set, it would confuse the hell out of you.
Oh, it would. Just the numbering and different names of things would be all heck of confusing. But yeah, that's God of Gamblers. And then there's a movie here, Stephen, that we've already talked about, The Core, which came out in 2003. And you might have recently realized that The Core had a Shout Factory Blu-ray release that came out literally earlier this year. Back, I think, in March. Came out back in March from their Shout Select line. But there is a new 4K that's coming out next year from I want to say Swedish company? Maybe that's not, no, Finland. There's a Finnish company called SF Studios that's putting it out in 4K.
Well,
so if you want to double dip and you don't have any Finnish releases in your collection, I guess this is your chance.
Yeah.
Because
I do like The Core, but I don't know that I need to go out of my way to get a 4K for this.
Yeah, same here. It does lead me to believe that perhaps since Shout Factory is upgrading all of their stuff anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if in a year from now you see them put out a 4K of The Core. I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe. I mean, at this point, if they didn't do it already, I don't know why they would go back and do it. I mean,
I get you on that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on that. But moving right along, let's move to Warner Archive.
Ooh.
Warner Archive was the slate that kind of came out of nowhere, just because they're real quiet these days. They're still around, but they're quiet, and they came out with their January releases. And their January releases to me, this is a classic Hollywood lover's dream of a lineup. Number one, you have Rancho Notorious, which is a Fritz Lang film. Wife vs. Secretary, which stars Clark Gable and Myrna Loy. You have Goodbye, Mr. Chips, which stars Robert Donat. Our Dancing Daughters, which is a silent film starring, I believe, Joan Crawford. Yes, it's a film star. Yes, Joan Crawford, because I have seen it. And then you have the Long Long trailer starring Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. So this is an eclectic group, but it's a solid group of movies. Steven, have you seen any of these? I'm just curious.
I've seen a couple of them.
Okay.
I saw Rancho
Notorious.
Notorious, the Fritz Lang Western, which is kind of an odd thing to say. Fritz Lang doing a Western. It's okay.
I dig it. I like it. Marlene Dietrich.
I know. See, I knew you were going to go right for the actors in this because, yes, it's got good actors in it. But the movie's kind of a very plain Jane Western. It's not, there's not Fritz. I would, if you didn't tell me Fritz Lang did this, I wouldn't know he did this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really feel like a Fritz Lang movie because it's so different from what other things I've seen. Like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad, I was interested because he was involved, but then watching it, I was like, I don't feel like he's doing anything that makes this any different from all the other Westerns that I've seen. I feel like this is kind of like a work for hire job more than anything. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, this movie is sandwiched in between a couple of, a lot of his darker work, like Scarlet Street, Cloak and Dagger, House by the River, and then The Blue Gardenia, The Big Heat he would do after that, Human Desire, While the City Sleeps, a lot of his more film noirish type work. Yeah. And then the smack in the middle of it is Rancho Notorious, which is a bit of a, I would say, noir Western, if you will.
I mean, the setup's good. Like the setup of this man who's got his wife, they own a shop, and then she gets murdered. Like the opening's great, you're like, and you expect the movie to go a certain way, but then it kind of like branches off, and then you meet another character. You meet the Marlene Dietrich character, and you get to know her a little bit, and it's like, it just feels like it's not really focused. Like it's not
okay.
I felt like it. I don't know. It just didn't vibe with me. It's maybe just not for me. Westerns are hard to, I think because there's so many of them, they're easy to feel like they're repetitive, and they're not, you could easily fall into being bored by them very quickly. Because they all aesthetically kind of look the same, especially at this point. This was at what, 52 was when this movie came out?
Yes.
Yeah. So 50s is not considered to be the greatest time in cinema. A lot of people consider it to be the worst time in cinema.
According to Tarantino, it's one of the worst.
Yeah, I don't know that I've heard other people talk about this, and let me say this: like, I understand, like, people like to talk about, they like to look back on history of cinema, and they like to talk about, and discuss it, and I'm all about that. I find it hard to want to judge a whole decade and be able to say it's the
when. I mean,
there's obviously a lot of great films that came out of the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
And it just feels like, maybe it's not the most influential decade, but I don't know that I could say, it's hard to say what's the worst decade. There's just so much good stuff that came out of
every decade has its merits. Every decade has its merits and its demerits. That just seems to be the ebb and flow of history.
Yeah.
Really.
And the thing too is a lot of people, if you hate the 50s, everybody loves the 60s decade, right? 60s is considered one of the greatest decades of cinema ever. Well, you had to get there before, so the influences that built into the 60s happened near the end of the 50s. You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of 50s films that
some of the best ones of Singing in the Rain
Rebel
is a
Without
50s
Cause, film. Giant, 12 Angry Men, I believe is late 50s.
It might not be the strongest, most influential decade, but a lot of good stuff was made in that. And I don't know. I'm not big on saying like a decade's the worst, or honestly, if I was being a devil's advocate and said what's the worst decade, honestly, I'd be picking something a lot closer to today than I would be picking older decades, because I feel like the last decade was maybe one of the worst decades I've seen.
Ooh, you talk about the 2010s or
Yeah,
the 2000s?
the 2010s.
Oh, really?
I think what it is it's just so much noise. There's just so much coming out that nobody even watches, that you got to think about all that stuff.
Yeah.
You got to think about how much stuff is just coming to streaming that people don't really even watch. And it's like, there's just so much noise out there that you're missing out on things. And you're like, I feel like money's being allocated to things that ain't even that good.
Yeah, every time I see because everybody, we also speaking about this kind of goes into it. Everybody comes out with like their top 10 movies of the year list in early or mid-December. So they're kind of coming out now, a lot of the critics and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, most of these movies I've never seen or heard of because they're just not available.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah,
they get no notoriety, they get no marketing, they get no real platform to be showcased anywhere other than to critics or a very small cinematic run at indie movie theaters in the coasts, or whatever, or the big cities. And even then, they don't get that much play. And I'm just like, where are these movies? I want to watch them. I have a whole thing every year where it wraps into the Oscars as well. We're kind of going on a tangent, but like every year people are like, oh, they nominate movies nobody's ever seen. And I'm like, yeah, that is an issue. They should make these movies available to more people to be able to see. Therefore, more people will watch your telecast because then they got more invested in it.
Unfortunately, I don't know that that's true anymore.
Yeah, now it's a little bit.
I think we've gotten to a point now that people are
don't care.
Oh, people don't even want to see them movies now. I hate to say it, but most people they're making a show for people that don't want to watch them movies that you're nominating because they've been so inundated with popular, like the big budget movies that's not their interest anymore. I think that the thing, I mean, I don't think we need to be making movies to get people to watch the Oscars. I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
But I do think we've talked about it many times that the way we watch, like why we watch movies has changed over the years, and people are not going to watch movies to gain some kind of perspective on life, or they're not trying to gain anything from it intellectually anymore. Everybody's going there to escape now.
Yeah, but our world is so vastly different now than it was 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago. Our culture right now and our world is filled, I think, with so much harsh. Our reality is extremely harsh, whether it be economic issue, cultural issues, political issues, life issues, mental health, all familial issues, everything that when we come to the world of entertainment, like movies, like TV, music, all that stuff, you don't kind of want to see it reflected. You know what I mean? Because you live it every day. Movies have become very close to our realities, and some people don't want to face their realities all of the time. That's another thing where, are movies entertaining, or can movies be more than that? That's a whole other argument.
It's the way that the industry has changed a lot is it's gotten away from trying to tell meaningful stories with meaningful, not that they ain't out there, but it's just, that's the way it's gone. Part of that's because the money's been the mid-budget movie has disappeared. That's part of the problem, but we're going down a whole rabbit hole. I just wanted
Steven,
to say
you started it. You started.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, this gave me enough time.
I just want to say that I hate that we're judging decades and we're saying decades suck because certain decades suck over other ones. Because I just think that you can find so much good stuff. It's
also subjective.
Because I think honestly, when you say stuff like that, it turns people off of stuff. Like I don't like making statements about saying whole decades suck because it makes people say, then I probably won't even check out the 50s. I want to, I just think we shouldn't be trying to make statements that will turn people off of things. You should be making statements.
Movies, I think.
It's so subjective. You should be saying things that are positive about the thing that you love, not about negative. Even though you're just trying to create conversation, I get it, Tarantino, but
I think he says whatever he wants.
He says whatever he wants all the time, just because that's how he is.
He likes hearing himself talk.
He does. But I'm just saying, I think I think it's great to have discussion, but I think also when you're making a blanket statement over a whole decade, it should be a little bit more nuanced.
Well, the second decade that he mentioned in that, which people maybe have been glossing over a little bit, was the 80s.
He said the
That
80s sucked
yeah,
too.
he said the 50s and the 80s I think were the worst decades. Am I right on that? People at home are probably correcting me like crazy.
If it's the
It was
80s, then
either
he
50s or the 80s or 50s and the 90s. I don't
it's
quote
definitely
me.
not the
I
90s.
don't
I,
look
if it
things
was,
up.
I think I remember hearing the 80s, and
Okay.
it's fine. It's fine. It's
Yeah,
he
either
thinks
way.
about this a lot more than we do, and
Yeah, of course he does.
yeah.
Yeah, of course he does. But let's get back to this slate of movies.
Yes.
Because
Okay. So I did see. I said that I saw Rancho
Rancho
Notorious.
Notorious.
I
Yes.
thought it was okay. The other one I saw and I really liked was Long Long Trailer.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
yeah, because it's
It's a
essentially a I
road
Love
movie.
Lucy movie.
Yeah.
They literally their names are plays on Lucy and Ricky. Her name's Susie and his name is Nikki. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So, but the whole movie is basically um, getting to see Lucy and Ricky get married and go on their honeymoon. And Lucy or Susie gets him to buy this big ass pull trailer, like camper, thing. And back then, these were a new thing. This was a big new kind of like thing for you to go on vacation to have your camper pull it along. And of course, there's a lot of things that weren't learned about in this case, they don't have the proper vehicle really to be taking a trailer out anywhere.
Yeah. Don't they have like a convertible? Like a big
Well, yeah,
Cadillac convertible or something?
So the funny thing about it is it plays into that. Basically, this movie is about the deconstruction of like a marriage and how much and they play it up. And there's of course a lot of physical comedy and things like that. They're really good at that stuff. And but all the stuff about the wife makes you pay money for all these things. So she wants to get a camper. Initially it's like, hey, this is gonna be way too expensive. Then of course the guy's there like, you only have to pay a little bit at a time. So then he
no
gets
money
it,
down,
but then
or whatever
he finds out that his vehicle isn't heavy enough to pull it. So then he has to buy a whole new car. And then the car has to also get a hitch put on it. And then it just keeps spending more and more money.
It's like a snowball. It just keeps
you just feel so bad for him, but he's just trying to make his wife happy. And just then the misadventures of trying to take that thing many states away.
And drive across country with it, and it becomes like a road comedy movie with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz.
Yeah,
it is directed by Vincente Minnelli, who is an all-time great director.
Yeah.
He directed Meet Me in St. Louis, The Clock.
Oh yeah.
He directed Father of the Bride and American in Paris. He directed Brigadoon, Lust for Life, Designing Women. I could go on all day about Vincente Minnelli. Vincente Minnelli is Liza Minnelli's father. A person who's a big fan of Vincente Minnelli is Martin Scorsese. No big shocker there.
He likes everybody.
Yeah, but I just
unlike Tarantino, Martin Scorsese says a lot of positive things.
Yeah, I learned a lot about Vincente Minnelli through Martin Scorsese, as I've learned a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vincente Minnelli directed a lot of great films. And this is one of them, like Ziegfeld Follies, which is one that got a Blu-ray release from Warner Archive that we got to watch. It's just this whole slate for me is like tailor-made for my classic movie loving heart. It's got like all the actors I love. It's got directors. I know the presentations are going to be great.
The other film that really interested me that I didn't get a chance to watch was the one that has Mr. Chips in it.
Yeah, Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Is fantastic.
Yeah, it looked good. Yeah.
Yeah, this movie, directed by Sam Wood and Sidney Franklin, starring Robert Donat, Greer Garson, an age teacher and former headmaster of a boarding school, recalls his career and his personal life over the decades. So it's kind of one of those movies where it starts out with the framing of this old teacher. I believe he's finally retiring, and then they look back on his career and life and all that kind of stuff. And I think Robert Donat's just a super underrated actor. He was in the 39 Steps. That's where I remember him from, the Alfred Hitchcock film, which was Alfred Hitchcock's like warm up to North by Northwest.
Yeah.
And
honestly, I have days where I debate on whether I like that one more than North by Northwest.
Really?
I know I'm one of the crazy ones.
It's a shorter movie. It's a lot tighter. I really like that movie.
Well, the chemistry, I think it's the chemistry between the two leads I really love in that movie. 39 Steps. So it's one of Alfred Hitchcock's British films he did in the 1930s. It does have a Blu-ray release from Criterion. Yes. That's where I first saw it.
But Robert Donat, underrated actor. He was in The Count of Monte Cristo, The Inn of the Sixth Happiness, with Ingrid Bergman. Just an underrated actor. So yeah, that's I like because I remember seeing that Blu-ray kicking around for many years at I saw it at Barnes and Noble, I saw it at other places to buy, and I just never bought it. But good thing I waited. And yeah, A Wife vs. Secretary is a film that I saw a little while ago. I can't remember if it was Filmstruck or if it was TCM or if it was Criterion Channel, but the wife of a publishing executive mistakenly believes that her husband's relationship with his attractive secretary is more than professional. Directed by Clarence Brown, starring Clark Gable, Jean Harlow, and Myrna Loy. Just three all-time classic actors from the 1930s. This is a fun comedy. I really dig it.
Okay.
I highly recommend it. So I think that's but I think that's the whole slate.
Yeah, it was 4.
Yeah, Our Daughter. What's the last one, Steven?
I don't know. I can't. You know me.
Yeah.
I can't
look. See anything. That's why I'm.
Nobody knows this, but if you don't know this, you don't follow me on Facebook. My whole computer setup's fucked. So I'm literally just Andrew's got to steer the ship, and I just react.
Nice. That's why it's a little wobbly. It's a little wobbly. I can't get my headwind. So the last movie is Our Dancing Daughters, which is a silent film, which is really awesome, starring Joan Crawford. In Our Dancing Daughters, Joan Crawford stripped to
what?
Yeah, it says. Let me find a better because that is a whole paragraph worth of stuff that I don't feel like reading.
Jeez.
Yeah, I saw this like on a public domain version, like scratchy and like all kind of stuff. So, this one's not even okay. Here we go. A flapper who's secretly a good girl and a gold-digging floozy masquerading as an ingenue both vie for a hand of a millionaire. So it's kind of like a love triangle trapping type of situation. Between a flapper dancer and then a gold digging floozy. Say that 5 times fast. Both trying to vie for the affection of this individual, and who wins essentially.
Sure.
That's what you got. That's what you have to decide. But people don't realize this, but Joan Crawford's career goes back into the 1920s, into the silent era, and she did a lot of silent films early on in her illustrious career. I'm digging this whole slate. I want all of them, but of course I also want a bunch of other Warner Archive stuff that I haven't bought yet. So this will be on the back burner, of course, along with everything else.
You gotta wait for one of them sales.
Yeah, that's the one thing I miss about Warner, the whole Warner 4 for 44 sale. And that's when I used to load up on like.
Well, I mean,
6 or 7
Amazon,
titles.
the Amazon does one.
Do they?
Or they did. Remember, they did that one through it was like through another site. They did it earlier.
There was that other site that did it.
Yeah, but they did it this year again.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah, Amazon. You can find them all on Amazon, and the prices fluctuate. They really do.
Yeah,
like
you just pay attention to them.
Sometimes you can find some for 10. Sometimes you can find some for 20. It really all depends on the day of the week when it comes to Amazon and their pricing.
Just pay attention. Yeah, I'd say just load them up in a list and pay attention to them.
That's what I do. That's what I do. So moving right along after that, I think are we heading towards Radiance level?
Do it, man.
I think we maybe. There is okay, so this is coming out through Paramount Pictures proper. There's a UHD steelbook. I think this is just Paramount straight up, so this is not really our avenue.
Well, you already started it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's Dragon Slayer from 1981.
Oh, I'm glad you brought up something that I would not know anything about.
Yeah, know nothing about. It's just called Dragon Slayer. It is available to watch. Oh, I forgot where. Maybe Tubi, maybe HBO Max. It's one of those two.
Yeah.
But that's one of them that I don't know.
I doubt it's HBO Max if it's a Paramount Presents.
Yeah, well, although Paramount and HBO do have a good relationship with one another, I guess.
Sure.
Then before we get on to the next thing, some release news. This has been buzzing for years now, and it's starting to get hot right now. James Cameron's The Abyss You know the 1989 film, Steven, that
I
hasn't
know
seen
about
a
that one. Yeah, I
hasn't
know
seen a
that
Blu-ray
movie.
release yet. Um, Apparently, the word through the grapevine, through James Cameron himself, is March of 2023. We're supposed to be finally getting The Abyss
Okay, let me say this.
Blu-ray, 4K. I'm not sure which one. Something's moving.
Okay, so let's step back for a second,
Stepping
and
back.
let's look at the fact that we're listening to a guy that took like fucking 12
13,
years to put out
13
the
years.
sequel to his movie. So let's not take this too seriously. Um, and it's also a guy that still hadn't put out True Lies on Blu-ray either. Like there's a lot. It's hard to believe anything this guy says when it comes to a timetable.
Yeah, because there's been a whole there are people put together timelines of what's been said and what's been worked on about this Abyss release, and it goes back to like 2015. This has been something that's been in the works for years, and people have been asking James Cameron, and he gives updates every couple of years saying, "Oh yeah, worked on the master," or "Yep, it's finished. The master's finished," or all these kind of steps and all this kind of stuff. The kicker is that it'll come out in the same time frame as his new Avatar movie will get a Blu-ray or 4K release, as well as the 4K release of his original Avatar movie from 2009, which still needs to get a 4K release. So maybe they're going to be doing all of this at once in the first part of 2023. That remains to be seen, because we've been lied to before about many things from many different people in the realm. So yeah, I want to see it just because I don't own it and I don't want to buy the DVD, obviously, with it coming out. And it just, that and True Lies is like the only two James Cameron movies that don't have Blu-ray releases. Because I don't know what they're waiting on.
It needs to happen, James. So
yeah, no, come on. If you're listening, James.
If you remember, there was an episode way back when that I was just like, I just hated on James Cameron.
I do recall.
You remember that?
I do recall. I doubt he's listening now.
Yeah, he was listening before. He was listening before that episode. Now he doesn't listen anymore.
It just all went to shit. All went straight down to no man's land. But yeah, everybody's kind of gearing up for Avatar. Apparently today, which is the 11th of December, they played Avatar on ABC for the first time. It made its network TV premiere. And I'm like, that is not a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
Back 30 years ago, back when we only had a few cable channels in the 90s, a big time movie premiering on TV or coming on TV for the first time, that was a big thing. Now nobody cares.
I think I honestly assume most people have cut the cord by now.
But the irony of all of that, and we've talked about it many, many times, it costs just as much now to get all the streaming stuff,
if not more,
that you were paying for cable.
Yeah.
It now costs sometimes even more with all the different streaming apps and programs that you have to get and subscription services, and you got to pay for the internet as well every month. You're paying pretty much just for cable once again. There you go. So they caught up. They caught up to the scheming. But you know who hasn't caught up to any type of scheming? That is Radiance Films. So Radiance, of course, we
really know that? I mean, Fran is a sneaky guy. He could be scheming. I'll tell you
this though, he's busy guy.
He's busy as hell.
Busy as hell. We had him on our show a month or two ago.
A few months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, we talked with him about all the stuff they had going on there. They had just announced like all those titles that were coming out, and he's announced several more since. And we got all kind of stuff coming from him this week. I brought up my email here that has some information, and some information is on Instagram, some on Facebook, Twitter, all the good stuff from Radiance. But their March title is going to be Welcome to the Dollhouse, which was one of the original launch titles that we got to talk about. This is I believe the Todd Solondz film.
Yes.
I've seen this. I saw this a couple of years ago. Todd Solondz is one of those interesting indie directors. His films are not for everyone.
No, it's got a surrealistic. I can't speak. Surrealistic type of way about it in a lot of ways. It made me think about a recent film, 8th Grade. Like it kind of
Oh,
has that
it is set in kind of in that adolescent world of like a
yeah,
coming of age, awkward teenage angsty years. For those of you who haven't seen it, it says right here, an awkward seventh grader struggles to cope with inattentive parents, snobbish classmates, a smart older brother, an attractive younger sister, and her own insecurities in suburban New Jersey.
yeah.
Sounds like a
The
lot of things
relationship with
going
the
on.
brothers is the best part of that movie. I love that little their little relationship.
Mm,
He's
yeah.
so honest with her, and like I just love it. Yeah. But yeah, that one was previously announced before we talked about that movie, and but there were a couple coming soon titles that will be
Yes.
coming out
Yes,
in the
there
next
is.
year. One
Uh,
being their second box set, which looks really nice. So what is that?
That is the Dino Risi like three comedies box set. That's what I'm calling it. I actually can't really remember where did you see that, Steven? I can't remember where it was dropped.
Well, I know
Oh,
I
you know what? You
dropped it.
dropped it in our group. That's where it
Well,
was.
I know I dropped it on our group. I dropped
Yeah,
it in. It's on
plug the group.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, so yeah, Steven dropped it in our group, which is Chasing Labels, a film collectors podcast on Facebook. That was a nice plug right there. And it's the three. Wow, I really got to scroll down for this, Steven. There it is. It's
Woo!
Steven writes another sexy box set coming from Radiance Films, because that's how he likes to sell it.
Yeah.
So this is called Commedia all'Italiana, and it's 2K and 4K restoration with a new and archival extras, an 80-page book as well. Gorgeous cover art here.
Oh yeah.
And Dino Risi, as soon as I saw that name, I connected it to Il Paso, which is a Criterion Blu-ray release from, I think, 2013, 14 in that area. Martin Scorsese loves that movie. That's why I bought it. And it's actually in this box set as well. So if you
Yeah.
don't have it, you can get it in this box set. Or if you already have it, it looks like you're going to own it twice. This is a limited edition of 3,000 copies. The other films in this set are called Il Vedovo and Il Mattatore. Il Vedovo, I believe, is The Widower.
Yeah.
That's how it's,
Yeah,
the American
I believe
title.
1959.
Yes.
Widower. Yeah.
And then Il Mattatore is The Showman. And I got to see Il Vedovo. It's actually available on YouTube
It's
if
on
anybody
YouTube.
out there
Yeah.
wants to
Yeah.
watch it. It's a fun comedy, fun situational comedy where it's about this guy who's in kind of a loveless marriage, and he's married to a really wealthy woman, and he runs this company, and he's just trying to keep it afloat with his wife's money, and she just won't give him any more. She won't give him any more money, and he's frustrated about that. And one day, I think she goes on a train ride, and the train gets in an accident. It's believed that she has passed away, and so he's now going to inherit all of this money. But lo and behold, that may not be the case. So he has to come up with another way to kind of get her out of the way in order to get this money. And it's a situational comedy. It's funny dialogue. It's zany at times, and the main actor in it is just kind of just going a million miles a minute, and the movie just flies by. It's a very zip zappy type of movie. I really dug it. The Il Mattatore, or The Showman, stars the same actor who was in Il Paso, who is a fantastic actor. And yeah, I think his name is Gassman. That's his last name. And he's kind of a larger than life actor, really fantastic. And then Il Paso is an amazing road comedy. Just incredible movie. I can't recommend that movie enough. I've been telling people to watch it for years now. So now you have no excuse. But yeah, this is a great box set. I know when we talked to Fran, Italian cinema was one of the things that he really loved a lot, and he's putting a lot of effort into putting out a lot of those movies.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the other film that they teased is also an Italian film.
Yes, it is.
You got to find that one now, don't
as soon
you?
as I got to find this one now I got to look at all my tabs now.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it's because Steven also posted this, and it is called The Iron Prefect. And this is actually based on a true story. It's called The Iron Prefect. And there's a couple of other names to it. It's called I Am the Law, or it's called its Italian name, if I can find it. It's called Il Prefetto di Ferro. And this is based on a true story. This is set in 1925 Palermo, Sicily. This is right around the beginning of fascist Italy. Benito Mussolini is in control. It's a fascist country now. And lo and behold, in Sicily, there is a lot of mafia stuff going on. There's a lot of mafia that controls Sicily, controls large parts of it. And then this guy gets sent down there to kind of squash that mafia problem for the government. His name is Cesar Mori, and he is a ruthless lawman that's here to arrest everybody, convict everybody, get people any way he can. Even if he thinks you're part of the mafia, he's going to arrest you. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations. And yeah, it's a really, really good film. It's a gritty film. I dig it a lot. It's Claudia Cardinale is in the film, who's another actress that I really, really like. She was in 8½. She was in Once Upon a Time in the West. She's in the original Pink Panther film. For those of you who have seen that film. Yeah, just stunning actress. She's in this film. And yeah, this is another solid film from Radiance. But we're not done yet, Stephen. We're not done with Radiance yet.
Oh, man.
So they got another partner label that they partnered up with called Mawu Cinema? Not Mawu. Mawu Films. And it's called Man Marked for Death, or it's called 20 Years Later. That's what screwed me up when I went to look for this movie.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Because there's no movie called Man Marked for Death 20 Years Later. Yeah. There's a movie called Man Marked for Death, and then there's a movie called 20 Years Later. And this is a documentary. It's a Brazilian film documentary directed by Eduardo Coutinho. And this is apparently one of the best Brazilian films ever made, from what I was reading. And I got to see the movie, and it is very, very good. So the lowdown on this film is that in 1964 or so, Eduardo Coutinho went down to Brazil to make a narrative film, an actual narrative film about this guy, João Teixeira, who had died. But before he had died, he was the leader of kind of this peasant farm society. They couldn't call it a union because unions were illegal, so they called it a society that were fighting for like rights for tenant farmers and stuff like that, and fighting back against money grubbing landowners and all that kind of stuff. You've heard that story before. It's happened throughout history. But the landowners had him killed, and so Eduardo Coutinho wanted to make a narrative story about that person's life, but they got about 40% into production of the movie when there was a military coup that happened in the area in which they were filming, and they had to get out of there. The cameras and equipment were confiscated. The scripts were confiscated. The people who were working on the film were thrown in jail, or they had to flee very quickly. All kinds of arrests happened, all kinds of stuff. So he returned about 20 years later in late 70s, early 80s to kind of, to see what was going on. He originally wanted to go back and maybe finish the movie, but then once he kind of realized that was impossible, he decided to make a documentary about what happened. What was the circumstances around the making of the film, what happened politically at the time, and specifically what happened to João Teixeira's family in the years, because his wife actually was going to portray herself in the film. And also he caught up with her to see where she is. Turns out that whole family just got completely decimated in terms of like having to be spread out all over the place. So a lot of them hadn't seen each other in decades, or since the young children were children. It's a fascinating documentary that's about so many different things, and it's really incredible. It's really incredible documentary.
Awesome.
This is a hell of a release by Radiance and by Mawu Films. So I'm not doing justice by selling, but I'm just telling you, this is a really great documentary.
Now I don't know if you looked into this. I didn't get a chance to look into it, but is this their first release in general, or is this?
It says on the cover of the cover art says 001.
Oh, okay.
So
So
number
maybe
zero
this is
zero
a
one,
new label that's starting up with Radiance.
I believe
Um,
so. Yeah, this
yeah.
is yeah, I'm just looking at their yeah, it doesn't really say specifically, um, but I'm assuming since it has 001 on it that it is number
Yeah.
one.
Well, I mean,
And it says
it's just a little different situation because we know that Fun City's teamed up to do some UK titles, but Fun City, of course, is a company that's been doing it for a little while now. So this is seems to be a new label that is now is working with Radiance to put out their first release. So that's cool. That's cool. It's cool.
yeah, it's really cool.
And is there a description of this label to know what their focus is? Maybe.
The only thing I see here is that on the cover it says "Bringing Back Lost Masterpieces, Lovingly Restored."
Okay. All right. So
Even in the
they don't seem
description,
to have. They seem to just be a restoration company, the company that's going to restore film, lost film. So
yeah,
I mean, that's great.
It is limited to 3,000 copies, which is actually kind of a lot in the grand scheme of things. But
Oh
even
yeah.
on the Radiance website, it doesn't really give a description of the label. It just gives a description. Oh, I found it. Never mind. See, I gotta scroll down, Stephen.
Scrolls.
So
Yeah.
once you on Radiance and you click on the title, it gives you all the details on the side, the features, and
Wow.
all this kind of
Wow,
stuff.
that's crazy.
And then you scroll all the way down to the bottom, and it says about Mabu Films. Mabu
Okay.
Films is a new independent UK Blu-ray distribution company specializing in multi-award-winning African and Latin American cinema. The ethos of the company is to bring rare masterpieces to light, selected from different decades and film movements. Our aim is to stimulate discussion and nourish new conversations around revered classics so long hidden from the world.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
that's great. That's a part of that. That them countries being represented in a label is good because you don't really have them yet. I don't think. I mean, not that other labels haven't put films out. I mean, Criterion's definitely put out films from Africa.
I was just gonna say, yeah,
yeah,
the
but
only one that I know of that does it relatively consistently is the Martin Scorsese World Cinema Project thing.
yeah.
That those box sets put out by Criterion have African films in them, like lost African films that you've just have never heard of or never seen.
I mean, the whole point of them box sets are where it's the World Cinema, project. It's
Yeah,
so
I
they're
guess that's the
getting
point.
the point is they're getting so many things from different parts of the world that are, I know they've got just many different like kind of countries you wouldn't think about getting films from. And so, yeah, to see a label focusing on that, that's great. That's great to see. And
I was going to ask you, do you have any of those box sets?
I think I have the first volume. I
Yeah, I was
think I
going to
only
say I
have one.
don't. There's four of them now. I think the fourth one just came out that we
Yeah,
covered.
I believe
I gotta get them.
Yeah, I believe I have the first volume. It's either the first or the second. I think I might have skipped to the second one, maybe just because there was a film in there I really liked. But
and my OCD can't do that. I got to get them.
I can do that. Yeah.
Oh, reckless. But yeah, that's that. But that is it for Radiance. And I think that's about it for most of what has come out this week. There is actually one more thing that was dropped in our Chasing Labels group, and this is a brand new UK company called Film Treasures. Did you see that, Steven?
Well, that shoot, the thing is that shit was announced like a month ago.
Oh, really? I did not.
I
know
think
that.
we missed it. Like it was one of them things I saw and I forgot to bring it up. And you should have backed me up. It's your fault, really. It's really your fault. But yeah, there's a new label out there called Treasured Films, I believe.
Yeah, Film Treasures.
Or Film Treasures, I'm sorry. And yeah, their first release is called The Last Hunter.
Yes, and it's getting a super deluxe release.
Yeah.
And this is another Italian film, coincidentally. This might as well be the Italian film podcast for this episode. And yeah, it's getting, and it's coming out in March, and it's getting a rather deluxe, like rigid slipcase release. The film is directed by Antonio Margheriti, which I think we've talked about before a couple of times. New 2K restoration of the movie, 60-page, like
people have been buzzing about this release, and interesting enough, we of course our sponsor Orbit DVD put pre-orders for Martin up. This is their second pre-order.
Oh,
it's for the last Hunter. I just noticed this when I went by Orbit DVD earlier. They had this up for pre-order. So you can go pre-order Last Hunter from Orbit DVD.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure to mention that. But now I think we've come to the end.
Okay. So as we said at the beginning, we know the sight and sound polls have been a big buzz topic right now. So we decided we were going to do run down a list of our 10. We're getting a lot of these all the directors out, people that were involved are getting their top 10 list dropped. And we figured, we'll pretend that we're a part of it and we're going to say what our 10 was. And of course, I'll say with the caveat that, and I'm sure just like anybody else that was involved in this, that this list can change all the time. There's so many great films. It's hard to really narrow it down to 10. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I think we should run it down one by one, go back and forth.
I didn't know if you want to go. You go first.
We'll go back and forth, and let's not spend like a ton of time talking about each movie. But Andrew, you can start.
Oh, of course. Put the onus on me. Yeah, I know. Like I said, my list is going to be boring, so please bear with me. First up on the list, I got to go with my favorite movie of all time, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. That's number one.
Boring. No, I'm just kidding. That's boring. A good pick. That's a good pick.
For me, obviously, Lord of the Rings, all three films is kind of like one long film, so that's what I just say all the time. But if I had to pick one, Return of the King, why not? I don't really need to explain myself, Steven.
You don't. I think I honestly, I would never diss that pick because honestly, there's really no other films that really have accomplished what that series did.
Not in that genre.
That's what I'm saying. Like
high fantasy genre, kind of broke that mold a bit. You know what I mean?
They broke that something that is considered a mainstream genre broke its way into the kind of the art genre, to where it got nominated for Best Picture. All three films nominated for Best Picture, with the last one winning. I mean,
the last one won 11 Oscars.
Yeah, I mean it's a big movie, a monumental. Just how they made them movies, and honestly, any sequel they made after doesn't really stand up to any of them three movies. Like, right. Even, I mean, people have their fans of The Hobbit, but like,
I'm one of them.
Them films are not nearly as detail oriented and things.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah,
it really is. It was at that era of filmmaking where, practical and digital were still kind of hand in hand, and you could kind of mesh the two to fool people into believing that it was all practical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
and then, as obviously the years have gone on, notice CGI and special effects a lot more now.
There's a full reliance on CGI now.
Yeah, these movies were made back to back to back in the late 90s, which, if you think about that, it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But Steven, what's your pick-a-roo?
So and I will say this, I did post a top 10 of mine already out there. It's in the world, but I'm going to take a few and flop them out just to throw a couple surprises in there. So, but I'll start with, and these are in no particular order, I guess.
Same here.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do a 10 to 1 or anything, but I guess the first one I'll talk about is a film that I kind of feel like it's this filmmaker's, I think he's one of the great filmmakers of our time. And he's got a lot of films that people know and love, but I feel like this film is one that I think it's getting reappraised. I think people really like it, and I think it is going to end up, unless he makes a better movie, be maybe his masterpiece. And I believe that's David Fincher's Zodiac. I really love this movie. I remember first seeing this movie for my birthday. It was my birthday movie back when I believe I turned. Might have been 22, 23. It was right around there, something like that. I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was a little younger than that. But I remember going to the theater with my, at the time, girlfriend I had, and we were on our way to go see it. My car broke down. It was bullshit. Of course, I wasn't even upset about the car. I was upset about being late to the movie.
I thought you would be like kind of embarrassed. You know what I mean?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
It was just, I was upset that I was going to maybe be late for the movie, but we got the car running and we got to the movie, and I loved it. I loved it. I've always loved this movie. And I think it's it really, of course, Fincher's known for delving into dark subjects like this with Seven and, even Girl with Dragon Tattoo. He's made some other films that are really great, like, Social Network. But there's something about this film where the atmosphere mixed with the storytelling, where he changes perspectives between the people pursuing the Zodiac Killer and the Zodiac Killer himself, like kind of seeing some of his point of view. Like it's just a really, I think, well told, kind of epic crime mystery, noir. Really, it's kind of a noir itself. Mark Ruffalo's involved in the film as a cop. You got Jake Gyllenhaal, who's this cartoonist who kind of gets involved in the case. You also have Robert Downey Jr. Really great, just modern noir kind of serial killer film. I love it. So yeah,
Nice.
that's me.
Nice. My second one here, like I said, no particular order, is speaking of Martin Scorsese earlier, is Taxi Driver.
Well, that's one of mine. So we can, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. So shall I continue?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Taxi Driver, obviously Robert De Niro's in the film. This is, I think one of Martin Scorsese's, all-time films amongst all-time films that he has. 1976. It's a movie that I think is endlessly fascinating because it's really centered around the character of Travis Bickle, of his mindset, his morality, immorality, the world in which he lives in, which has affected him in the way he approaches the world. There's so much to be said about this movie. It's kind of an easy pick. You have the Bernard Herrmann score. Martin Scorsese, to this day, can craft a movie not really quite unlike anyone else, I think. And this film is just, there was a time where I watched this film a lot just to learn about the craft of movie making and just all kinds of stuff. And like I said, it is a bit of a neo-noir. The mood, the music, the setting, the character, the lighting, everything in it. It's a loosely plotted film for the most part until you get more deeper into the Travis Bickle psyche. And what is fascinating to me the most is how much staying power this movie has because of the Travis Bickle character, and his view of the world still exists from a lot of people's perspectives.
Yeah.
That morbidly twisted view of morality and justice, in quotes. It's an astonishing work written by Paul Schrader. Like I said, my film list is going to look like film school 101 essentially. But
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I do think your Lord of the Rings pick is kind of a wild pick. I don't think nobody's put that. That's not even on any. I don't think that's on.
It is in the official Sight and Sound list.
Is it in the list? I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think all three of them actually are on the list.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
They're like way. They're not like top 50 or anything.
We're gonna have to check into that. I can believe that one of them's on the list, but all three of them.
Yeah, while you're talking, I'll take a gander.
Yeah, please, because I can believe that one of them's on the list, but all three of them is kind of crazy. I also picked that one, and that's one of my picks. It is a great film. I do honestly though, like I could in my mind, I go back and forth about whether Taxi Driver is my favorite Scorsese or King of Comedy is, and I think King of Comedy is another one that is up there for me. And it has similar themes. It has similar themes of mental health that I think are very interesting and still relevant today. But yeah, so I'll go into another one. One that I didn't put on my initial list that I'll talk about is I think I think it's an important film that is very foundational and influential to a whole era of films, and that's the 1960s film Peeping Tom. And this is one I believe that's on the Sight and Sound list. It's Michael Powell, and you got this guy who's a troubled kind of photographer who uses his camera as a killing tool. Like it's literally his camera tripod he uses it as his killing tool, and then you watch him through his camera lens as a voyeur as he kills people, and it's just such a people like to talk about, Texas Chainsaw Massacre that came a little later as being like kind of the first slasher movie, but this one kind of hits on that first a little earlier and really sets some of the groundwork for that genre. And also just, it's for the time, it's a very disturbing film. It makes me kind of think of, I talked about The Sniper being a very early film with a lot like kind of disturbing imagery, disturbing situations that happen in the film. So I feel that way about Michael Powell's Peeping Tom. Is just kind of a very psychologically disturbing movie that has some creepy images. And yeah.
Oh yeah, I kind of agree with you there as well. I also agree. There are a lot of films like that. I think of Peter Bogdanovich's Targets as another film.
That's another one. Yeah,
very, very disturbing in its
and its bluntness towards something that's really like violent or very, like it just hits it straight on. Like they don't really they show more than you expect them to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I feel you. But yeah, I was looking at the Sight and Sound list. I don't think any of the Lord of the Rings films are on there.
I was gonna say, right. I didn't think they were on there.
I saw them. I guess not. I'm looking at the list.
I think you just wanted them to be there, so you projected your mind that
always do.
Oh, look, Lord of the Rings is all in the top 10.
Yeah, nice. Well, I want to do this nice transition right now because it's what I do. But you know what is on the list, and that is Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. And that's on my list. That's on every list.
That could have been on my list. Definitely.
I've said this for years, and this is going to be extremely morbid to anyone listening. So warning. When I pass away, whenever that may be, everyone who goes to my funeral is going to have to watch Seven Samurai. So everybody listening, if you come, that's what you're going to have to do.
So wait, are they just going to have is there just going to be a?
It's just going to be a film screening of Seven Samurai.
Oh,
that's it.
Is there like a purpose behind it, or
just because?
Why not Lord of the Rings? Why not Lord of the Rings?
I don't know. I just feel like Seven Samurai is a movie that no one going to my funeral would have watched. So I'm like, hey, we're gonna watch. They're gonna have to watch Seven Samurai.
I thought maybe it was because it ends with like the swords of all the dead people, like all the people that were in the group that died.
I didn't think of it that thematically through. I just thought like,
and that your grave is going to have like a sword in it or something.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool.
It'd be dope, right?
With the flag. But for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Seven Samurai is the 1954 Japanese film directed by Akira Kurosawa, and to me, it's one of the greatest films ever made.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely up there.
There's nothing. It's nothing quite like it. Especially when you experience it for the first time. It's one of those films that I personally got wrapped up in just the journey. The movie's like 3.5 hours long, but my goodness, do I just get wrapped up in the characters, the situation, the journey they all make, to the point where when you get to the climax of it all and characters start, dying in the movie, you feel it because you've been on this journey with them, so you feel it.
Yeah.
It's an epic samurai film. It's just incredible. For those of you who don't know the premise of it, basically this farming village is threatened by some outside people, and they need to hire someone or some people to protect them or do something about it. And they end up hiring, one guy who ends up recruiting these other people, and you end up getting 7 samurai and all these villagers versus like an army essentially, and that's the climax of this movie. But the journey to getting there is incredible as well. It's Kurosawa to me is just one of the all-time greats. I love this movie so much.
Definitely. All right, so is this our fourth pick now, or my fourth?
This was your fourth pick. Yeah.
So one I'll talk about now is a wild card one. This is one I thought about, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna throw this in there. Just because of the time of the year, and I know people love to call this a Christmas movie.
Oh no,
Die Hard.
Oh, nice.
This is one of my wild card picks, and the reason I don't think it's a Christmas movie. I'm sorry, I'm not even going to argue about it.
We argue about this every year,
and it's so fucking annoying. it could be a Christmas movie if you want it to be. I personally don't look at it as a Christmas movie. That's just me. But I find Die Hard to be one of the great movies of all time because honestly, how many movies copied the formula of Die Hard after it came out? Like it's kind of the perfect action movie. And it, has one of the best, people will say this, it has one of the best scripts there is out there. And it's got a great villain, with Alan Rickman, John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, who becomes one of the most iconic, heroes in film. And this was a big tide change when it came to action heroes, because at the time the action hero was, a shredded up, large person, usually played by Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone. And then, John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, comes in as a everyman who, is a cop coming to see his wife and coming across the country. And then terrorists take over the building that they're in. And he has to find his way to save everybody in the building, and it's it's one of them. First of all, of course, I've said this before, I love movies that take place in one location. This is a little bit bigger than that. It's not necessarily as small scope, but it's got a bigness to it, but it is all in this one location. Great character work, just a lot of great moments. John McClane's one of the great characters. I think his character is good, is good for 3 movies. I think after that we get kind of crazy. This franchise is, I think, had 5 movies.
Because for number 4 was Live Free or Die Hard.
Live Free or Die Hard's decent, and then that 5th one's the worst movie I've ever seen. I hate that fucking movie.
Is really bad.
It's bad, but
I own it, and I don't know why.
I own it because it's in a set that I have.
I own it because it was like $5 on Black Friday on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And I was just grabbing titles.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I replaced that movie with the movie that's the unofficial last Die Hard movie, unless they make another one. And that's the movie 16 Blocks. I take that movie 16 Blocks as the unofficial last Die Hard movie, because he's playing a cop in New York who's kind of past his prime, and he's transporting a prisoner across town. And then these dirty cops try to kill that prisoner, and he's got to protect him and get across. It's a Die Hard movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's to me the 5th Die Hard movie.
Yeah. Do you know that Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is the 3rd film,
fucking love that movie, was
originally supposed to be a Lethal Weapon film?
Yes. Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense because it's essentially a buddy cop movie, if you think about it.
Yeah. Him and Sam Jackson. Yeah. But that's honestly, that might be my favorite Die Hard movie. I just know that Die Hard 1 is the best. It's the best overall thing. It's the best. It set the stage. It's a great movie. It's a great it's a great experience. And of course, we know it's great because everybody likes to fucking watch it every Christmas now.
Yeah, you know what? I got to get the 4K of that movie is always dirt cheap. Not dirt cheap. It's always like $10 to $15, which I guess for 4K is pretty cheap. But it's a worthy upgrade over the old Blu-ray that's been kicking around for about a decade or even earlier. The original Blu-ray for Die Hard came out forever ago, and I'm pretty sure that's the one I have. They haven't upgraded, I don't think, any of the other ones to 4K or anything like that. The first Die Hard came out on Blu-ray in 2007. That's what I have in my collection. They just kept recycling.
Well, they put it out every Christmas. Discs. They put it out every Christmas again.
With a new slipcover of him wearing a Photoshop Santa Claus hat on or something.
Yeah, something
or something like that. And it was the same disc every year. They come out with a new steel book or this and
this
that.
Year though, it's like the first year I think Fox is not owned by is Disney owns it. So
is that why they haven't put out a new edition?
I don't think there's been a new this year. A new release
ever since they put out the 4K of it, I don't think they put out much.
Well, they don't need to put it out again. It's fine. It's good.
They put out the 4K back in 2018, and I don't think they've had another release of it since.
Okay.
So that's kind of
that's good. That's good. I can give it a break. But Die Hard, I think, is just the all-time great action movie that I feel like. I mean, of course, there's a lot of great action films, but I feel like this is one that really made an impact in American action films. And, Yeah,
That makes a lot of
that's
that makes sense. It launched a career of kind of two actors if you think about it.
yeah,
Both
yeah.
Bruce Willis as well as
Alan
Stephen
Rickman.
Alan Rickman, who I believe before then had already been in movies, and I think
Well,
he had a lot of theater work
he'd
as
mostly
well.
done stage work, I
Yeah,
think.
stage
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
Um, but moving completely shifting gears, I'd be back
yes,
to my boring ass list.
yeah.
Um, I'm gonna cheat here, go with another Kurosawa film because you can't just have one,
Oh, Jesus
and I'm
Christ!
gonna go with Ikiru
I knew you were
or
going to
To
pick that
Live.
movie. I knew it. It's so
I could
depressing.
not put this movie on the list because it's a film that um completely tonally different than Seven Samurai.
Yeah,
Tonally different, setting different, plot different. It could have been directed by somebody completely different if you didn't know it was already Akira Kurosawa. Ikiru stars Takashi Shimura, who was also in Seven Samurai. And Takashi Shimura plays a character who is dying from terminal stomach cancer in the movie. And he kind of finds out about it, but he kind of realizes that it's happening. And he's basically trying to find some type of meaning in his life at the very end because his whole life has been kind of meaningless, at least from his perspective. And you do see moments of his life and him reflecting on it in a rather negative way. And he tries to kind of, you know, come back from that or, make up for that towards the end. And it's got one of the most beautiful, stunning shots you will ever see in cinema where it's snowing and he's swinging on a swing and the whole thing is shot almost as if he's in a real life snow globe. And it is a
yeah.
stunning, stunning work. Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. It makes me cry every time I watch it. And yeah, that's Ikiru for me. It's a movie I had to watch for a class one time, and I was just like, this is incredible.
I
Just
gotta come. I
absolutely
gotta come
stunning.
back to this one because I initially tried to watch it and it. I don't think I was in the right mind space, and I had to just turn it off because I was like, this isn't. I couldn't. I was like, this is kind of. I'm not getting into this. So I had to come back around to it.
Yeah, I know this is one of the ones that Steven has to still fully watch. Um, I don't know why, but I'm on the Ikiru IMDb um like page, and it's playing like clips from every other like Akira Kurosawa film other than Ikiru. I have no idea why.
Weird.
Like I'm pretty sure this is Stray Dog, um, which is the early. Yeah, I think it's Stray Dog. I can't remember, but it's the film. They're playing clips from the film where Toshiro Mifune is a cop and he loses his gun, and it's picked up by a criminal, and the criminal commits a murder with it, and it's him trying to track down this criminal.
Yeah.
I believe that's Stray Dog. People at home will obviously correct me. Yeah, just random that they're showing that film. I mean, you could pick any of these films from Kurosawa's filmography, but yeah, Ikiru is such a special, like life changing film for me.
All right. Well, my fifth pick. Let's go with. I'm gonna try to decide on which one.
I'm just going in order. I'm lazy.
Well, the thing is, I'm not even looking at a list. I'm thinking about my previous
Oh,
list, and then I'm thinking about my alternatives that I could throw at you. Let's bring up. Well, let's just bring up one of my old all time favorite, L.A. Confidential.
there you go.
It it's to me, it's kind of the best. It's a perfect movie for me. It looks great. It's acted great. It's just my favorite movie of all time. And you know, we both are big noir fans, so it hits all that stuff, and it's just such a great story of great crime story, great mystery, and just a lavish movie, just so well shot. It really invokes that time period really well. And I can't sit here and say it's an important movie necessarily. It's not like it did something that impacted cinema a great deal. It came out the same year as Titanic, so it didn't
That
win the
counts.
best
That
picture that
counts.
year. But it's so I mean, but it's to me, it's just I think it's a movie that not everybody really remembers because it is overshadowed by like a Titanic or something. But whenever somebody brings it up there, oh yeah, that was good. Like I've never heard anybody say that movie sucks. And it's just a perfectly paced movie. Perfectly paced, perfectly acted. I just think it is a perfect movie, and it needs to be on the list somewhere.
Well, yeah, it's part of. I mean, that whole push in the '90s from neo noir, and to get back
Yeah.
to that kind of noir flavor, but give it that '90s kind of dirtiness. Um, it's part of that whole genre,
Yeah.
or subgenre, if you will. And we did a whole episode on it on Cinema Discovery Project once upon a time. So we went in and out of that movie and all of its references to classic Hollywood and how all of its noir influences that are in it and homages. Great film, directed by Curtis Hanson.
Yeah.
Who directed 8 Mile, if I remember.
Yeah, he directed a few things.
He passed
he
away.
Did pass away. He did pass away on us not too long ago.
But for me, once again, no big shocker here. Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. You already mentioned Michael Powell, so we're on the same wavelength.
I know which one. I know what movie you're gonna pick.
The Red Shoes.
That's exactly
what
you're
thinking of. Yeah, of course you were. This is good. How do you describe this film? It's a masterwork, just a masterwork.
I tell you what, it's like I couldn't believe how good this movie looked for a film that came out in
1948.
Yeah, like I was like, this looked like this shit was filmed yesterday.
Yeah,
like it's so amazingly shot.
Just got a 4K UHD release from Criterion.
I gotta get that. That's the one I have to get. If there's one 4K upgrade, there's one 4K upgrade I have to get for something I already own from Criterion. That's probably going to be the one. Definitely, I'm going to get.
If they do Black Narcissus, I think that's another one I have to get. Coincidentally, also Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. But this is, man, it's a film about so many different things. It's about artistry. It's about art. It's about sacrificing for your art, for the love of your art, your obsession about your art. So the IMDb synopsis, for those of you who haven't seen the film, which I'm pretty sure many of you have already, a young ballet dancer is torn between the man she loves and her pursuit to become a prima ballerina. You've seen that type of framework story so many times when it comes to films, but it is just done so impeccably well here. The prima ballerina in question is portrayed by Maura Shearer, and just stunning. There is a sequence in this film that I think is pure cinema, where they do the play that she's doing, and they kind of just show you it like beat for beat, and the cinematography is some of the greatest you will ever see in cinema ever. It's just stunning, and it's shot by Jack Cardiff, who was an extraordinary cinematographer, who passed away in 2009. But he did like Black Narcissus. He did The African Queen. He worked all the way up until the 2000s. He was just a phenomenal cinematographer, and just knew. And the Technicolor had been around at the time, but utilizing it to its fullest extent. Its fullest extent. I can't say enough about this movie. Or about Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger's work in general. That's another thing that I got from Scorsese, was who Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger were, because he's always been a huge advocate for their films. Pretty sure he was responsible for the restoration of this movie.
Yeah.
I believe there's an interview with him on the DVD, the Blu-ray.
Yeah, he does an introduction. I believe he does an introduction.
Because he knew Michael Powell like directly, like they were friends. Thelma Shoemaker, who's his longtime editor, was married to Michael Powell. So there's the direct connection there. It's just, The Red Shoes, it should be on every single top movie list of all time, in my opinion. But yet again, this is film school 101 stuff. But it's essential to me. I think a lot of what's in the top of the Sight and Sound list is essential movie watching to really understand the beauty and the staying power of cinema. If I can get on my whole operatic discourse about it. But Stephen, let me kick it back to you.
All right, what is this? My sixth pick?
I have not been keeping track, so I've been hoping you have.
Yeah, well, I don't have any. I was looking for a pen, and I don't have a pen around me.
Well, your brain works a lot better.
I believe it's my sixth pick. Let's throw out one that's a more recent film. I really love the film from Alfonso Cuarón, Children of Men. Is one I really love, that I think is one of the best shot films I've ever seen. Speaking of best shot things,
Lubezki. right?
Emmanuel Lubezki. Because he's become really known for his kind of documentary style, kind of one take, ability. Like he's able to really move the camera around in a way that makes you feel immersed, and I think he does it best in this film. He's done a lot of work with Iñárritu as well. But his work with Alfonso Cuarón, I just think in this film is just amazing. You got Children of Men, this kind of post-apocalyptic world where women have not or stop having babies, and so we're like kind of in a state of emergency all the time, where the youngest person in the world is like 12 years old. So it's an interesting situation, and so we get into a lot of themes about the meaning of life and just the way that this film kind of like takes you on a roller coaster through different areas. I believe this film's set in London, and they kind of travel across the UK a little bit, getting through checkpoints and things, and like it almost feels like a video game. It feels like a real kind of like intense video game experience in a way, with some of the action sequences and it's just an amazing, and then it's just a really kind of an emotionally wrenching film too. And I don't want to talk about all the plot details.
Don't give the whole thing away. It does star Clive Owen.
Yeah, Clive Owen.
And this was back at the time where Clive Owen was a star. His stars faded a bit over the last several years, but he was a big star back in because when did this come out? 2007. Yeah, I was say the 2000s. Clive Owen had a bit of a rise. And 2006 actually, the movie came out.
Okay.
And yeah, he had a bit of a rise back in that time, and it's kind of cooled down a little bit. But yeah, I can't disagree with Steve when it comes to that.
It's
one of
the movies
best films
that people talk about, but it's not. You don't. Like I said, I mean, I can't sit here and make an argument why it's an important film, but I just think that it's such an immaculate movie that is like it has staying power. Like I remember seeing it in theaters, and it still hasn't left me.
It becomes more relevant as time goes on. I mean, we're literally still in the middle of a worldwide turmoil pandemic, if you will. And the basis of this film is that there is a worldwide kind of situation going on where, humans cannot reproduce. And if that happens, humanity can slowly die off.
Yeah, the way that the world is in this movie, where people are kind of like caged off, and like chaos, the economic ruin that happens to people in this movie is something that very much seemed like was our world the last couple of years in a way. Maybe not as intense, but it's definitely got relevance. I think it's just a movie that gets better with age. It really does.
Because which I guess is both fortunate and unfortunate, depending on how you look at it. But Alfonso Cuarón, I think, is an incredible filmmaker. I mean,
definitely.
I think both you and I, Stephen, love the film Roma more than anyone.
Oh yeah, Roma's amazing.
I use this to impress people, Stephen. So please don't hold it against me. But you were pretty much at like the world premiere of Roma when you went to Telluride. I'm pretty sure that was the first screening of that movie.
I believe so. And he was there. It was amazing.
And I tell people that story all the time to impress them. So that they'll think I'm cool because I know somebody who was there.
Oh yeah.
It's like cool by association.
Cool. Yeah. Do it, man. Use it, man. Get my coolness out.
I do have permission.
I can share my coolness. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I use it to impress. Yeah, I use it to impress people. But of course, Cuarón did the film Gravity, Y Tu Mamá También, which is in the Criterion Collection.
It's another one that's so good. That
2001.
movie is,
people don't talk about it enough. I don't think. And
that movie has gotten better with age. That movie just
it's a coming of age film. Very raw coming of age,
sexually awakening film.
Diego Luna, Gael Garcia Bernal, who've gone on to do other things that people know. Know them more from. But swinging back to me, which is yet again, we're going back to film school now. Come on, everybody.
Come on, guys.
Let me take you back to 1957 with a movie that I think is perfect, and that is 12 Angry Men. Sidney Lumet's film. Talk about a movie all set in one place. It's all set in a courtroom set around these 12 characters who are part of a jury, and they're trying to figure out if they're going to convict this young person in a murder trial. But that's not really the important part of it. What makes the film so good and makes it so worthwhile watching is the interaction between these individuals, the arguments that they get in, and the discussions that they have, the back and forth, all of that stuff. And it just so happens to be a very tense and humid and hot day, and so like the temperature's rising in the room as the actual temperature is rising in the room. It's really fantastic. It's based on I believe on a teleplay, because Sidney Lumet actually came from the world of television before he got into movies. But you're talking about a cast here of Henry Fonda, Lee J. Cobb, who yells in this movie like he's never yelled before.
Oh yeah.
Martin Balsam, Jack Klugman, Jack Warden, Ed Begley. It's just an incredible movie, and the themes in this film, the themes of prejudice, of of ageism, of all kinds of stuff going on in here is just it has so much staying power, so contemporary, because they remade this movie in 1997 and it still had the same type of relevancy. But yeah, so I always love this movie. Once again, Criterion Blu-ray that I've had in my collection for many years. I think that's an essential Blu-ray. From Criterion. Like if you're starting that Criterion starter pack that we talked about, I think this has to be in it. And just for the sake of cinema, come on. And the movie's perfect. It's an hour and 36 minutes, so it's always rewatchable. I find myself rewatching this movie at least once a year.
Yeah, and speaking of a filmmaker, that like honestly, I don't feel. Like I know cinephiles know Sidney Lumet, but I just don't think Sidney Lumet gets brought up in the best directors of all time. Though he's probably one of the most consistent directors of all time, with the span of this film from 1930s to the early 2000s or the mid 2000s, where his last movie before The Devil Knows You're Dead was like I think 2006 or 7 was when that came out.
Yeah, it came out in 2007. That was his last film, and this may be. Well, I'm going all the way back. Yeah, okay, it's not his first film. No, it's not his first. Although, hold on, maybe it is.
I think it's his first feature, isn't it?
Yeah, it is his first feature because he did a TV short before this, and he did a bunch of episodes of television. But this is his first feature, 1957.
Lumet did so much great work through what? How many years is that? Like a 50+ year career.
Yeah, he started in the early 50s in TV, and then all the way up to 2007. So you're talking 45 years.
Yeah,
business.
He did, just The Pawnbroker is another one.
That's a great movie.
Pawnbroker.
No one talks about that movie.
Didn't he do The Verdict as well? Or was that?
Yes, he did. Yeah,
The Verdict with Paul Newman.
Yes, he did. Prince of the City, which just got
Prince of the City,
a Warner Archive release this year, I believe. Or maybe last year.
Of course, he did. Dog Day Afternoon?
Dog Day Afternoon, Murder on the Orient Express, Serpico, Network, which I used to watch every year. That's an all-time.
That's a great film. That's an all-time.
I used to watch that talk about a movie with staying power.
Fucking staying power, yeah. He did work. Like it's like he never took a break, man.
Yeah,
he's like the better Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott don't fucking take breaks. And his movies are really hit and miss.
Didn't he have 2 movies come out like last year?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
he had House of Gucci, and then the other film,
the medieval movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up because The Duel. The movie's criminally underrated.
The Duel is actually pretty good.
Yeah, that movie's fantastic, and it just didn't get like the box office or just the.
Yeah, people weren't going to the theaters yet. Really.
I'll say this: Ridley may be pumping out these movies, but his movies are always extremely well made.
Oh, definitely. He's a technically a good filmmaker. Yeah, but Sidney Lumet, he's to me, he's like honestly, if I had to do a top 5 filmmakers, he might be in there.
Yeah, he's in my top 10.
Yeah, he's definitely in the realm of like top 10 best directors of all time because he's just so consistent. He didn't stop pushing himself to do interesting work. All right. So good pick. 12 Angry Men is definitely an all-time great. the next one I'll bring up, I think this is my 8th pick. So we got a few more here. We'll try to run through them quickly. I'll bring up, how about a German film that I think that we both would consider to be maybe one of the great and most disturbing war films of all time. Come and See.
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
Yeah, Come and See.
I don't even think you need to explain this one.
I don't really. I just know that this is a World War II film that, if you thought 1917 is a World War I movie, but it's got that same kind of immersiveness. It's very, very ground level, very, but I think that this one really gets inside the psychology of somebody that's lost in this like hellscape. It's a hellscape. I mean, literal scenes of the bullets flying through the night sky, like being in a field, seeing bullets shooting by you, and of course going by a town and just seeing dead bodies piled up outside, like just things that just in the way the series of events, how things unfold, feels like you're there, very much in the way that as I talked about with Children of Men, very much feels like you're there, you're immersed in it. And you just see this young kid who just go through just hell. There's
that old saying. I had an old teacher who said, "Well, this was a quote that he said that he got from somewhere, like war is hell." And it's like, you watch this movie, and it's like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's just you see the
kids. The emotional weight of this movie.
I mean, that's
crushing.
And that's why the cover of this movie is always just the young kid looking straight at you. It's that loss of innocence, that emptiness.
Just the horrors of reality, the horrors of war will destroy you. And once again, that theme right there is still consistent. How many, wars are still going on? How many people do we see come back? War veterans that have PTSD, that have all kinds of psychological issues, all kinds of physical issues, all kinds of things. And we see this generationally. Every single generation has this. You know what I mean? Not only World War II, but all the way through the present day in the veterans that we see coming back now. It is just, it's something that's consistent throughout the generations. And Come and See, when this Blu-ray came out, this thing sold out real fast.
It's a big one, yeah.
It's a bit. When this one got announced, people were jumping for joy. I think, Steven, is that your 6th or is that your 7th? Because I'm on number. That was my 7.
8th pick. Really? Number 8, I believe.
I just want to keep track. So I have Return of the King, Taxi Driver, Seven Samurai, Ikiru, Red Shoes. That's 5. 12 Angry Men is my 6th.
Oh Jesus! Do we really? That's it?
Yeah. So in my 7th, which I guess I'll reveal right now.
Well, I guess that was my 6th. Then I feel like we've talked about more movies than
maybe that was your 7th, and this is my 7th.
But you were first.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Anywho, Do the Right Thing is my next pick. The Spike Lee film, 1989, I believe, is talk about it. Yeah, movie that's dealing with race issues, dealing with cultural issues. It's still relevant to this day. Great cast, great feel, great aesthetic. Just kind of a day in the life in this neighborhood. Danny Aiello, Ossie Davis, Ruby Dee, Spike Lee, Giancarlo Esposito's in the film, Bill Nunn, who just passed away a few years ago. John Turturro's in the film. People may know him. And it's just this neighborhood on this really, really hot day, and tensions just keep rising until it all boils over. And you just see an eclectic group of people throughout this neighborhood. Great film. It's recently got a number of releases. It had a regular Blu-ray release from Universal. It had a Blu-ray release from Criterion, and then got a 4K release from Universal again. So everybody's playing like patty cake over here with this release. But get it any way you can. I actually did a Blu-ray review of the Criterion edition and it's on our Chasing Labels YouTube channel. But yeah, Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. Fantastic movie, just incredible.
Definitely.
But I'm kicking it back to Steven just to speed things along, because a lot of these movies people have seen.
Yeah. Well, I'll bring up one. Of course, we seem to, a lot of these movies come from the Criterion Collection.
Coincidentally.
Yeah. Big time filmmaker that I love, Satyajit Ray. or Satyajit Ray,
Ooh, I'm
The Big
curious.
City. Um,
Nice.
Now I know that Satyajit Ray shows up on the Sight and Sound list with the first Apu film. And of course, I love that film. I love that whole trilogy. But there's something about The Big City I feel like is a little bit more relevant. I feel like that the subject matter. I feel like that the film making and just the act. The lead actors in this film, especially I'm not good with remembering names, but the female actress that leads this film is so amazing. Um, and this is basically about the kind of deconstructing the home life of the household, and this is something we even deal in American cinema, especially with this film, I believe, that came out in the 50s, actually 1960. It's the Indian culture, Bengali culture, is very traditional, and the man's supposed to go to work and provide. Well, in this story, her husband, the main character's husband, kind of loses his job. He's hard for work, and so she decides to go out into the workplace to help provide. And so she ends up becoming really good at what she does, and there becomes a dynamic change in the household. And so it's a lot about that. Of course, not even just their relationship, but their relationship with their parents. They're even more traditional too. And of course, there's just this great discussion in this movie about women going into the work field and women having equalness, and it's just a really great relevant movie. And I love it. I've watched this so many times. It's probably my favorite Satyajit Ray film. He's got a lot of great stuff. You can't really go wrong with any of the stuff that Criterion's put out here. The Hero is another great one. Chai Latte is another one. So yeah, I mean, Big City. It's kind of my number one. If I had to pick a number one, I think The Big City is probably the one.
Yeah, I believe we did an episode on it on Cinema Discovery Project as well.
Yes.
And when we kind of went through it kind of scene by scene, moment by moment, plot point by plot point, and really dove into what the film has to say about roles and relationships, gender roles in society, all of those things. And once again, you're going to see a bit of a theme here. Those things are still discussed now.
Yeah.
In terms of what are the roles of certain people within a family, within a relationship, within society. It's kind of incredible how these movies really, these things don't age. They keep staying around. Yeah. And you are right. Yeah, the first film, Satyajit Ray's Pathar Panchali, is in the
I think it's like 31.
35, actually.
35.
It's sandwiched in between L'Atalante by the Jean Vigo film and City Lights, the Charlie Chaplin film.
Yeah.
Interesting. For me, the next one, don't really have to explain it, so we can move right through it, and that is Casablanca. The Michael Curtiz
that
film.
movie sucks.
Ooh,
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm just
according
kidding.
to some, it may. According to some, it may. This is a movie that has captured my imagination for many, many years, and it is kind of classic Hollywood 101 that you mentioned, movies like Casablanca and others. But this movie, I think, holds up so much better because Michael Curtiz is a master craftsman. Michael Curtiz is an influence on so many filmmakers: Steven Spielberg, George Lucas.
Oh yeah.
Martin Scorsese, once again, that whole generation of filmmakers. Michael Curtiz directed so many films. And this film stars Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, my favorite actress of all time, Paul Henry, Claude Rains, Conrad Veidt, Sidney Greenstreet, Peter Lorre's in there for a little while, S.Z. Zakali, set during World War II in Casablanca. It's a story that's a romance. It's a cultural film as well. There's political stuff in it as well. It's an incredible film. I don't need to explain why it should be in everybody's list. You may think it's a little overrated because it's always talked about, but I think it's still well worth it. I've had it in my collection for many, many years. I used to give this movie out as like gifts for like holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
I used to buy people the big Warner Brothers gift set.
Oh yeah.
Because at one point it went down to like absurdly cheap prices, and I was just like, yeah, I'll just give this to friends.
Yeah.
Watch
Yeah.
Casablanca, thank me later. So yeah, Casablanca, all time great. One of
Yeah.
my favorites.
Definitely.
Moving on, but moving on to
Uh,
your other one.
well, I think and I noticed this on the official Sight and Sound list. Not enough horror films represented in the list.
True.
I think horror is always a genre that gets a little maligned.
Yeah, they get a little kick to the side.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up, to me, one of the greats, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Nice.
I think is an all-time great horror film that still stands up really well today, especially the effects with the creature are amazing. And once again, another isolated story. Love my isolated storytelling where we're stuck in this Arctic landscape out, and these group of people are kind of stuck together trying to decide who's been taken over by this alien creature that they have stumbled upon. And it's you spend the whole movie trying to decide who you can trust. A lot of amazing creature work in this, and if you're first time to this movie, you're trying to understand what this thing is. Like, what is like, it can take on the form of other people, other animals, other things, like it's a weird creature, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And, they're just trying to make sure it doesn't leave there, like they've stumbled upon something terrifying and they can't let it get out to the regular world. Yeah, I mean, it hits on a lot of themes of, because you got all different types of people here, from different backgrounds, and people have their prejudices and they have their, it's just such a great isolated horror film that I think is kind of essential, that I think needs to be. I'm surprised there wasn't more horror on the official list, because it's such an important thing to our society. People love horror film, and I just don't know why we don't get more of that on the list. But yeah,
I feel you. I was trying to see. Oh, Night of the Hunter is on the list.
Yes, if you want to call it. I mean, that it is definitely a horror movie in a way.
Yeah, it's at number 25. And of course you have Get Out, which is
Get Out's a new one.
Added.
That's cool.
Horror.
That's cool. But
A Psycho is on the list at 31. I'm just looking at. I mean, yeah, they're definitely.
Right, well,
I feel you, but I feel you. There does need to be. Yeah, The Thing is kind of.
It is kind of a sci-fi horror. It's not. It's it's a little bit of a different kind than them other
something like
harsh...
Alien or Aliens.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be talking about horror at all. I'm going to go with animated actually, because there's
that's another thing that's not really on the list.
There's only I think there's only like 2 animated movies on this list, and I'm just swinging by it quickly.
I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Well, the two that are on this list, coincidentally, I'm going to add some directed by the same person that I'm going to talk about. So Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro are on the list, right next to each other, but I'm going to add Princess Mononoke.
That's a good
also
one.
Directed by Hayao Miyazaki, because it's not only I think one of the greatest animated films of all time. I think it's one of the greatest films.
I did think you were going to say Grave of the Fireflies, but
no, because that movie's devastating. That movie's devastating.
That's the come and see of the animated world.
Yeah, that's the movie that'll rip your soul out,
yeah.
And then just make you weep. But mine is Princess Mononoke. We did a whole episode on it way back when as well. Just I think a stunning film.
That movie's
Princess
awesome.
Mononoke is. I'm actually surprised My Neighbor Totoro is on it over Princess Mononoke, but that's just, and I love My Neighbor Totoro. So basically, there's this character who's been cursed with something, and he's got to go find a cure for it, and he ends up like kind of traveling to like the far side of the world that he lives in, and he ends up getting caught up in like this war between these two groups, and then this war between humanity and nature. And the film is definitely a whole allegory of man abusing and exploiting nature and the consequences of it and all of those things. That has been those were like heavy themes throughout all of Miyazaki's work, was this
Yeah.
very ecological type of themes going on, relationship between man and nature and how screwed up it's been and all this kind of stuff. And it's a wonder of a film for me. When I first watched it, the whole climax of it, I was like, this is something unlike anything I've seen before. Because you know what I mean? Because growing up with certain type of animation, you don't really get exposed to this high art animation like this. The
Yeah.
Miyazaki, the Studio Ghibli, at least I didn't. My childhood was filled with just was Disney movies, which are fine. You know, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, all that kind of stuff. I did get kind of the more edgier films with like Land Before Time and All Dogs Go to Heaven and An American Tale, which I like to call like the trio of childhood trauma. I kind of
Okay.
like, yeah, those movies kind of traumatized me as a child, and I think to this day still can have that effect on children. But they weren't quite the Disney films weren't quite as harsh. But I didn't grow up with all of these movies. I kind of watched all of these Studio Ghibli films in my adulthood, so I could kind
Yeah.
of view them with an adult lens and see all of these themes going on. But Princess Mononoke has always been my favorite of all those films.
Okay. Awesome. Another all time classic that I love. It happened one night. It happened one night. I mean, it's really the kind of the foundation for screwball comedy. And yeah, Clark Gable, um, Claudette Colbert. Their chemistry in this film is just amazing, and it's just one of my favorite comedies of all time. I go back to it a lot, just for their chemistry. And yeah, like I said, these are my favorites, but they're also films I find set a standard. You know, they had impact, and that's what I think is important for a list of greatest films of all time, is that they had an impact on cinema, and so, and even sometimes our popular culture. And I found that Happened One Night just they're still making this movie, today. Netflix movies are ripping this movie off all the time,
Left and right.
yeah, and it's just such a sweet movie. And there's not a lot you can say about it without saying the plot, which I don't need to. But just go check out It Happened One Night.
Yeah,
It's got a Blu-ray on Criterion.
Yes, it does. It Happened One Night, directed by Frank Capra. I believe it was the first film ever to win
The Golden Crown of Academy
which
Awards.
Was Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and it also won for Best Writing.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the five major categories if you think about it, even to this day. Yeah, it's an all-time amazing film. You can't really, find a much better film of that time. But yeah, I absolutely love it. But for me, the next film, which I believe is it's my 10th. So
it's number 10. Yeah, this is it.
Is this your 10 as well?
No, the next I'm after you, so I got one more pick.
Okay, so my 10th film is Sofia Coppola's first film, The Virgin Suicides.
Oh, nice. That's a good pick. That's a good wild pick.
This is one I went a little bit different here. And this film came out in 1999. Like I said, directed by Sofia Coppola, starring Kirsten Dunst. And there's actually other actors in this film that people will recognize, like Josh Hartnett has a small role, James Woods, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito's in the film at one point. But this film is based off of a novel, I believe, of the same name, and it's told from the perspective of these young boys who are kind of living in the same neighborhood as these sisters. The synopsis on IMDb is: a group of male friends become obsessed with five mysterious sisters who are sheltered by their strict religious parents in suburban Detroit in the 1970s. And for me, this film really speaks a lot to the oppression of young people and the oppression of freedom of thought, freedom of discovery, letting people kind of express themselves of who they are. And even the basic act of just leaving your house, that form of expression is stifled in this film. And you hear about stories like that all the time, where I grew up with very strict parents who didn't let me watch TV. They didn't let me, do this or do that. And you hear about all these stories. And of course, not all of them lead to such traumatic experiences, but you just see that happen a lot. And for me, I think one of the most derelict things that come in our society is the oppression of people, whether it be oppressing anyone for their sexuality, for their gender, for their religion, for their race, for whatever. Oppression in our society is still a huge issue that leads to a lot of bad things. And this film is really giving us that, but the way in which it portrays it to us is extremely haunting, very mysterious, very kind of gets in your skin. And there's a bit of a mystery to it, but also a bit of reality as well. I think it's a marvel of a film. It's Sofia Coppola's first film.
Yeah.
And it's one of her best, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a good one. I still need to get that Blu-ray or that 4K.
I'm pretty sure they just gave it a 4K upgrade
Yeah,
like a year after I bought the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I know.
Way to
Happens,
go.
doesn't it?
It does. It does.
But yeah, that's a good pick. That's your list isn't as boring as you said it would be. But my last pick will be I guess not really a boring pick, but it's a film I think people will know. And I felt weird not having a Spielberg movie, because Spielberg's such a big fan of Spielberg, and I feel like he of course has his stamp on film history that if it wasn't for this film, Jaws, that the blockbuster might not have started quite when it did. Of course, a few years later, Star Wars would really give the blockbuster steroids, and it would take over the world. But Jaws, is really considered to be kind of the first big blockbuster. And it's a film that, of course, I think when it comes to this genre, also really just, I think, of course, spawned a bunch of ripoffs, and of course, I think kind of opened up people's minds to doing more films like this, whether it be films about killer alligators, killer squid monsters. We've always had like monster movies. There's always been different versions of that, but I think it got a rejuvenation with Jaws in the popular culture. And of course, people can't think about going to the ocean without thinking of this movie now either.
Did I ever tell you I've been to Martha's Vineyard where they filmed Jaws? I went to the actual locations.
Oh, nice. No, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I went there, I don't know, many years ago. And yeah, that's where they filmed it, on Martha's Vineyard, which is relatively close to where I live. And yeah, I totally agree with you, Stephen. It's a movie that, came to, kicked off the blockbuster craze. But it took it, like you said, it took the idea of the monster movie and kind of shrunk it down to like something more relatively realistic, because there are sharks in the ocean,
Yeah.
And there are shark attacks that happen every year. So it's not something that's out of the realm of possibility.
They made the monster movie seem more like it could really happen to you.
Yeah, like Godzilla walking around may not be something that could happen, but
there's a little more of a sci-fi angle to the monster movie before this. I feel like,
with like King Kong or Gamera or, King Ghidorah. I could go on forever.
And of course, the shark in this movie is pretty ridiculous. But I don't think it's completely outside of the possibility that there's a shark out there this big. It wasn't like so big that it was like unreal, like super unrealistic. But of course, this movie's known for its production issues, and for the film that we got, it's amazing that it turned out so amazing.
Yeah, the making of the movie is fascinating, which you can find on the Blu-ray or the 4K disc that's been put out. Or this movie's been released so many times, you can go back and find a Laserdisc for it.
It's like Die Hard, yeah.
It's not hard to find. I will say this though, it's the movie on disc that makes me believe that Universal can actually put out a quality product when they want to. That was
Yeah.
the one revelation when it came to their Blu-rays and their 4Ks, where I was like, okay, now I can see you, Universal, doing something great. I always have a love-hate relationship with Universal, even to this day, because they would put out such an amazing, beautiful disc in Jaws, but then their other films, of the same era, even they wouldn't be as good. They would be lackluster. Like their Dare Hunter original Blu-ray wasn't great. Their Back to the Future Blu-rays weren't great. Their even something like Weird Science was notoriously bad looking and all that kind of stuff. But then they put out Jaws and it looked amazing. And I'm like, okay, so this one they actually cared about. And their 4K of it looks incredible as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Jaws. I watched it like every year around 4th of July. I
Yeah,
mean, just
it's
kind of
it's a
traditional now.
movie that has become part of the kind of like instilled in everybody. It's something that you see the image and you know exactly what it is.
Have you
Um,
seen the sequels? Just curious.
I think I've seen the one with Michael Caine.
Oh,
I
isn't
think
that like the third or
just out of
fourth one?
curiosity, like I watched that one. Um, but I haven't.
Nice.
I don't remember him that
I,
well. If I
I
watched,
kind
I
of
know
want
I
to get.
watched
I
that
want to
one.
get
But
them just to have them in the
oh,
collection, but
me
I don't.
too.
I don't find myself, watching them. Like the movie ends. The movie has a pretty finite ending that you don't really need a
Yeah,
sequel.
yeah.
You didn't really need sequels.
They didn't, but they
They
made
had to
them.
cap it. They had to get cash grab it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They had to get that
yeah.
money.
It is what it is. But the original Spielberg film, which was I believe his technically his like second feature, like I think,
Yeah, because he had done Duel, then Sugarland Express,
yes,
and
yes,
then Jaws. I'm
yeah,
actually on IMDb right now. I could probably look it up.
yeah. I know. I
I don't.
knew. Well,
I don't think Steven Spielberg is somebody we have to explain
no,
how
no.
great of a
We
filmmaker
know
he
he's an
is.
all time. I would say an all time great filmmaker. You can think what you want about him. You can think that he's like just like a popular movie machine. But the thing is he did it in a time where these movies were not things yet. It's not like it was now. The landscape wasn't the same. He's the one that created the landscape for which movies like this are thriving in today.
Mm.
Um, with
Oh
Indiana
yeah.
Jones,
Oh
with
yeah. Indiana Jones.
E.T., everything he did, he was doing in the 80s with Amblin and going into the 90s where of course Jurassic Park took over. And then he started doing a lot more mixing in dramatic work with things like Color Purple. And of course, his first Academy Award was Schindler's List.
Mm.
And then just we can go through his whole film. He's got so many variations through his career. And every once in a while, he'll still do an adventure movie.
Yeah, I think he's reached the point in his career where he's doing a lot more passion project film, which I'm assuming he's always had a passion for all of the work he's done.
Sure.
But he's doing things like West Side Story.
Yeah.
The Fablemans is like a pseudo autobiographical film
The
about his
thing
life
is
and his relationship with his family.
The thing is he's kind of told his story multiple times through his movies anyway. Like E.T. if you know Spielberg, his parents were divorced. It had a grand effect on him. And he's told movies about divorce like 3 or 4 different times. Like, of course, like I said, E.T., kids with divorced parents. Of course, before that, Close Encounters is really dealing with divorce in that movie, potential divorce in that movie. And he's probably done it multiple times. We don't have to go through his filmography, but Jaws is just, I think, is such an impactful film that it being on a top 10 list, if you love it that much, is worthy.
He's got some he also, as big as he is, he has some underrated gems as well, I would say.
Oh yeah.
I think Empire of the Sun is kind of not talked about enough, I don't think.
I know one that
Christian
I think people
Bale.
are kind of reassessing now is The Terminal with Tom Hanks.
Oh,
kind of a charming little movie.
Well, you know why a lot of people are not reassessing it, but talking about it now? Because the person that movie is based on just passed away. Actually, the real life person that movie is based on just passed away very recently.
And of course, there's
Terminal. It's a charming film.
It's a charming, yeah. And then there's ones that like just don't get as much talk that I think people are talking more and more about, like Minority Report. Is one that I think people are starting to come around to as being like really like a hidden.
I'm gonna say this, Steven. This may be the hottest take.
Oh Jesus!
Not a hot take. I think AI, artificial intelligence, is an astounding film.
I know
really
there's
like
a
that
lot of
movie
people
a
that
lot.
love that movie. I think it's because
It's an
It's a Kubrick
emotional,
script. That's
yeah.
why you love it so much.
Well, it's Spielberg doing Kubrick.
Yeah.
And if you know Steven Spielberg and Kubrick were, friends. They knew each other.
Yeah.
And then Steven Spielberg is supposed to be the successor to Kubrick in a certain way. I saw that in a documentary actually.
Okay.
So don't quote me on this. But I would say AI is a Kubrick film that Kubrick never got to make, that Spielberg made in tribute to Kubrick. I think it's a beautiful film. I really like it a lot. I love the themes in that movie. I cried at the end of it, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think because at the crux of that film and at the core of that film is the need, the want, the human kind of need to be accepted, to be loved, but not only loved, not only loved in general, but familial love, which is a different kind of love. It's a more powerful kind of love that a lot of people search for, and a lot of people are missing in their lives.
Unconditional love. Unconditional love.
Yeah, and it's unconditional, but it's a close, meaningful love that I think is essential to being human. And that whole movie is about what is, can you get artificial intelligence? Can it be human?
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated with that.
It's definitely fascinating. That whole era of his films are really I was going to say Munich. Munich, I think, is so underrated. It doesn't ever get, I don't even know if that's got really a good Blu-ray.
It's got a good Blu-ray.
Does it have a good one? Okay.
I know because I own it. I own my old.
Well, it needs a 4K. It needs a 4K.
Yeah, that it was a chore just to get the Blu-ray.
Yeah,
the Blu-ray.
But maybe we'll do a Spielberg podcast because I can talk about all his films.
Munich, the Blu-ray came out in 2015, put out by Universal, and I remember because it was a Best Buy exclusive initially, and then they released it fully a couple of months later.
Maybe we'll get somebody on here that wants to talk Spielberg with us. We'll do a Spielberg.
Anybody want to talk Spielberg? Hit up Steven.
Yeah, hit me up. But let's stop it there. We're done. Awesome. So please tell us what you think of our picks. Please tell us what are some of your picks. Leave us some of your picks for the Sight and Sound poll. Give us your 10 list, and that'll be fun to talk about. But that's it for this week's episode. Spy number 79. Like I said, next week, next episode, Spy number 80 will be our last episode of the year. We're going to take the last couple weeks of the year off for family, holiday, all that stuff. And then we should be back the first weekend of next year. I believe the 7th is what we're scheduled to do a recording on. And we're supposed to have Jesse from Diabolic DVD joining us to talk about some of our favorite pickups from 2022. So with that said, Andrew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings, over at the group, of course, Chasing Labels Film Podcast. You can also find me at the other Chasing Labels pages, whether it be our Twitter, Instagram, and me over at my Letterboxd at Chasing Labels. You can also find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Thanks again for listening. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.